Have you ever had one of those eureka moments? When something so daunting and complex just all of a sudden starts to make absolute sense? It's like you can see so clearly exactly what you need to do. Well, that's exactly what I had last year as I was becoming the chairman for TIPROS, one of the largest young professional organizations in the country. You see, for years, my friends and I, we would come to the table with local politicians, have serious conversations about policy concerns on issues that were affecting young people in our state, but all we ever really got was good lip service. It was kind of like getting a pat on the head and oh, that's so cute, but you don't really know how this works. And so as the result of years of frustration, I began to realize that despite what many of those in power would have you believe, it doesn't really take that many people to affect the landscape of your political environment. As a matter of fact, in a city like Tulsa, where we've got close to 1 million person population in our metro area, it only takes about 2,000 to 3,000 like-minded individuals to be the deciding factor in almost every major local election. With this basic realization as the impetus, we put together a young voter engagement campaign that focused specifically on 40 and under voters. And in doing so, we were able to increase the young voter turnout in our city by 50% over 3 separate and critical elections. And the strategy that we put together was based on 4 simple steps. We wanted to make it replicable, something that you could take to your community and you could show that you could be the change maker there too. What we found is that getting people to show up and participate really isn't that complicated a process. It's a pretty logical, step-driven process. And the steps that we created were as follows. The first, show that there's a low threshold for impact. Make sure that people know when they're participating, it's a valuable use of their time and they can help affect change. 2, relate it to something they're already passionate about. When people are getting excited about things that they're already thinking about, they're going to invest more time. 3, make it easy to do. Lower every single barrier that you can take out of the way, and make it easy for people to have fun and be part of the process. That's step 4. And it's simple. Make it fun. We took full advantage of something called FOMO. It's the fear of missing out. It's this thing that people in my generation really get. And what we knew is if we were going to have fun and throw big parties and be part of this revolution to make change, people were going to want to participate and be part of it too. Early on, we knew there were a couple of big hurdles that we had to overcome. The first boiled down to this basic sentiment that we continued to hear over and over again. And it was just basically this. Well, my vote doesn't matter, so why would I participate? I don't want to be part of something that doesn't matter anyways. That one hurt. And it hurt because it kind of resonated. Having grown up in an era of over-the-top gerrymandering, a Supreme Court decision for Citizens United, now Electoral College versus popular vote slanted elections, and this cycle we've got alleged governmental tampering by the Russian government. When you start to realize that this is the environment we've grown up in, it becomes easier to understand why people of my generation might come to the table with such a preconceived notion. You see, most people in my generation fully believe that almost every major local decision, political decision, is being made behind closed-door, smoke-filled rooms, or that the amount of money going in to influence voters in these elections could never really be overcome by a small group of active citizens, no matter how passionate they were. And that's usually because when most people are thinking about politics, they're only thinking about the national level. That's all we ever hear about. They never relate it to their local politics and how that affects them. And so we realized early on that if we would go out and have a conversation with a new voter about local politics, not national politics, but about the things coming up in their local ballots that they could affect and the low threshold to be able to do so, then we could get rid of this stigma. We could get them in the fold early on and easy. The second sentiment that we had to overcome, again, something we heard over and over again from our peers, was basically that I don't feel informed enough to vote. I don't know what's on the ballot. I don't know what the people that represent me actually think. So I don't want to waste my vote. What's the point? Why would I waste my time if I don't even know? In an era, again, where information is almost quite literally more accessible than ever before, I can see how this could seem a little bit contradictory. However, when you start to realize that politicians hire political consultants in it to get the biggest bang for the buck, and that my voting demographic, my generation, has shown up so lackluster over the years that these politicians just tend to neglect them. And really, their political consultants are doing them a favor to do so. Well, then it becomes easier to realize how people my age might feel a little uninformed about exactly how that person or that issue relates to their personal points of interest. So we decided if we were going to ever overcome this hurdle, that we had to develop a campaign that specifically talked to the issues that were important to young people. We had to go out there, and instead of having conversations about these ethereal things like security forces and constitutional preservation or talking about the platform issues, that we had to talk about things like criminal justice reform, things like quality of life investments, green spaces, water in our river, things that got people excited. We had to go out there and have conversations about issues that we knew were going to resonate. And we had to do it in a way that really got to them. Instead of doing the general advertising on TV and direct mail to their house, we had to go out and be online. We had to do ads in the social media realm, do promoted videos, do things that we knew were going to get to people in our generation. And as a result, we lit a fire that went viral. So now that you've got everyone pumped up about their individual passion points and the difference they can make if they engage them on the local civic front, you need to actually get them to take action. Now, with so many competing interests for time and energy these days, our campaign realized that we wouldn't have much success if we just broadcast a message and we didn't actually go out there, try to make people participate, engage them where they were at. The real secret to our success, once we had built a communication strategy that resonated, was bringing the conversation and resources to captive audiences, not just waiting for them to find their way to the process. What that meant for us was throwing big registration parties at high schools and universities, going to captive audiences and bringing a message that resonated to them. We had to go out and we had to get to music festivals, go to farmers markets, go to art crawls, be anywhere that we could expect young people to gather and bring the message to them. Once we were able to bring a message that resonated to captive targeted audiences, the results were frankly astounding. In a matter of months, we had registered thousands of new young voters in our community and got them excited to be part of the process. Now, at this point in the campaign, with energized voters who were now eligible to vote and make a difference in their community, you might think you're done, you got it, game over. Well, that's not quite the case. See, the last and really most critical step in this process is getting them to actually show up on election day. And we knew that it's already a struggle to get through your day, to get your kids to school, to go take care of every other obligation you had. So we wanted to make it both easy and fun to participate. In doing so, we took full advantage of the early voting process. We went out there and threw up a big block party right across the street from our county election board. And we made sure to bring food, things like pizza, tacos, yard games, party supplies, music, and Uber rides to make sure people could get there. And we said, just take a few minutes of your day, whether it's at lunch or in the morning, come out, hang out with us, be part of this process. We want you to engage, and we don't want there to be a hurdle to do it, because we're making a difference today, and you need to be part of it. We also brought in Tulsa Public Schools, bussed in tons of high school seniors, giving them the opportunity to engage on the political process, to learn from elected officials about how it works. And in doing so, we were able to effectively double the voter turnout year on year in our local early voting election cycle. And what I've brought to you today are, again, 4 simple steps, ways that we were able to transform our community, that we said, this is our Tulsa, and young people need to step up and be part of it. And what I'm asking you is take this blueprint, take it to your city, to your Norman, to your Stillwater, to your Austin, to your Kansas City, all over the country. Take these ideas, infuse them into your community, take ownership, and be that change maker there too. Thank you.